I'm going to digress just a little bit. I went into this a new commitment as a leader with a new leadership team, and the leadership team was very responsible, very capable, very knowledgeable. They were a really good team of leaders. And then when I met with the operators, what I found was a lot of frustration, a lot of feeling disempowered, a lot of feeling like they were micromanaged.
Another one that you have in your framework is about feedback. And interestingly, when you gave your example before, when you were talking about essentially the team gathering around and working on improvement, you brought up at the example of someone not being very good at challenging conversations. Tell me more about your thoughts about feedback and why it's important.
If I had to choose a skill that a leader absolutely has to be expert in, it's in giving feedback. And by the way, in receiving feedback. So let's do the quick one first. Receiving feedback. As a leader, if somebody has the gumption, the courage to give you feedback, somebody that you lead, this is a gift. This is an amazing gift that you can throw in the garbage by being defensive or by explaining it away. And basically those things say, well, you're wrong. That breaks down psychological safety as quickly as anything. We got to recognize that it takes courage to give somebody an authority feedback. And if somebody is giving you that, they have overcome their courage and their discomfort, and they care about you enough to give you this feedback. And so what I promote is your job is to receive the feedback, period. Ask open-ended questions. Ask, maybe what would they have done? Be very curious, really try and understand it, do reflective listening. Let me make sure I got straight what you're saying, but do not justify, do not deny, do not explain. Now, if there are things that they clearly didn't know, that is why they give you that feedback, but do that a day later, a week later, circle back and go to them and say, hey, I've been thinking about the feedback you gave me, and I was wondering, did you know of this other circumstance or whatever it is? So you're still able to impart knowledge that informs them of why you did what you did, but you don't do it in that moment. In that moment, you tell them, thank you, it's safe, and please keep helping me grow into a better leader. So that's the receiving feedback. The giving feedback, there is a common model out there that we've used in the past more than recently called, I forgot what the name of it is, but it's situation, behavior, impact. I'm going to state the situation, what the behavior was, and how it impacted me or others. And it's a very crisp formula. It gives direct feedback without, judging you. It just talks about the impact on me. That might be really good for people that are very uncomfortable giving feedback. They need a formula, they need some clarity, or for a peer-to-peer. But as a leader, when I'm giving feedback to somebody, it's rare that it needs to be urgent. If they made a racial slur or something, absolutely. Hey, that's not acceptable. Let's go talk about this. And then it can be a one-way conversation. I'm going to digress just a little bit. I went into this a new commitment as a leader with a new leadership team, and the leadership team was very responsible, very capable, very knowledgeable. They were a really good team of leaders. And then when I met with the operators, what I found was a lot of frustration, a lot of feeling disempowered, a lot of feeling like they were micromanaged. And I was trying to understand what was going on. So I met with the leaders and I said, hey, let's talk about the environment in there and how do you give feedback? And so we had this conversation, and I started to talk about, how about if we have a conversation when we give feedback? And one of the leaders said, Well, Brett, if somebody walks in 5 minutes late to the clean room to do manufacturing, I need to tell them right then, hey, you're 5 minutes late. That's not okay. We're going to potentially miss build plan because you're late. And I said, well, what happens if they were late because a coworker was in the hall crying and they were attending to their needs? Or an engineer grabbed them and they walked in late because of that. As a leader, you're an authority, and you just from 30,000 feet dropped a feedback bomb and then walked away. And what you just told them is, I don't really care what your side of the story is. I don't care your perspective. What about, hey, I noticed you were 5 minutes late. Is everything okay? And just the question, you can state the situation, the facts of the situation, but then following it up with a question allows them to provide their experience. It allows them to take responsibility. If they were late because they were out too late the night before, 95% of the time, they're going to say, I'm sorry, I screwed up. And then you can ask things like, well, how can you stop it from happening again or whatever, and then be done. But they were able to then own it without you dropping it on them. So I believe conversational feedback wherever possible is really important. In fact, it deepens relationships instead of makes them more shallow and divisive.